Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the emergence of so-called business forums within the construction industry, particularly in Gauteng, has received attention. It's alleged that development projects are being negatively affected. Let's speak to Gauteng Human Settlements MEC Lebogang Maile. MEC, good evening and welcome to Full View.
Evening, and thanks for having us.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So, on several occasions, or for several years, MEC, we've been reporting on these business forums or construction mafias, if you will. But mainly it was in KwaZulu-Natal. But now we hear that they're in Gauteng, and reports suggest that government projects worth almost 2 billion are now under threat. How big is the problem in the province?
The problem is big, and it has always been with us, so it's not new, especially in the northern part of Tshwane, though it's everywhere, but it's worse there because you even have people being killed, and some of the service providers or contractors that we appoint have abandoned the projects or have refused to execute because they have been threatened by these criminals.
My goodness. And have you been able to establish the modus operandi or strategy that these forums employ when they move into an area or perhaps identify a particular project?
Well, my suspicion is that they work with, they are organized, and I think in certain areas they collude with people, or some of people who work for government, because in most cases they've got information that ordinarily would be given to a contractor who's appointed, and they shouldn't be having that information. So it's clear that in certain instances they collude with people, and that's why, for instance, they will make demands based on that information that they will be having at their disposal.
If you had to give us practical examples, is it a situation where you would have these business forums coming in and requesting to subcontract on something they know is already needed in that particular project? Is that what you mean when you say they have information?
When in the construction, we've got what it's called the bills of quantities. So the bills of quantities will be information about work that has to be undertaken, and it's detailed. For instance, a contractor will say, we charge government, let's say, 3.20 rand per brick, and they will have even such information. So if a person says, government, we charge you 3.20 rand, for instance, per brick, and the subcontractor comes, and the subcontractor says, or not even the subcontractor, sorry, these business forums, they'll say, we want 3.20. So it means the contractor is not making profit. And when they don't agree with the contractor, they then threaten them, and they sometimes even bring firearms on site and threaten workers there.
Are we not being generous by calling them business forums? Are these not extortion rackets? Honestly speaking, if you're talking about them bringing in firearms.
These are criminal elements, and that's why the police have to deal with them and treat them as such. They are not business forums, because there are genuine business forums in certain instances, and who are reasonable, who are able to engage with the contractors and agree on terms. But there are those who sometimes don't even want to be subcontracted, by the way. They want contractors to pay a protection fee. As you correctly say, we are generous if we call them business forums. These are just criminals.
Of course, the police would need to intervene, but as government, what are you doing to assist in these instances? Because you've got these contractors that have to build. These are projects that will benefit ordinary citizens of the country. So how are you intervening and assisting? Because most of your contractors will just abandon the projects.
It's true. That's why we have what we call a rapid response team. In most cases, when the contractor is appointed, we help them to negotiate with the communities and to also negotiate with the genuine business forums in the communities so that they find a middle ground. And whenever there's a dispute, we try to mediate so that there is a common ground between the contractor and the communities. And what we have also done, apart from that, we have created through our police wardens in the province, we have created a unit that is responsible for working with the police and other law enforcement agencies in making sure that they respond timelessly whenever we ask them to intervene.
MEC, you say that you assist them to engage the community as well as some legitimate business forums. But what happens when a legitimate contractor is capable of doing the job by themselves and they don't want to engage the business forum, even if it's a legal one? What happens in that instance?
Yeah, well, firstly, when contractors apply for work, they know that there's a requirement for them to subcontract at least 30% of the work in the communities as part of job creation, as part of local economic empowerment. But when you apply, you already know that you would have to be. And by the way, contractors, we've not met any contractor who has said they are not prepared to subcontract. It's just that they are not comfortable if people make unreasonable demands correctly so. And that's why we intervene as well.
Do you ever find a situation where these construction mafias actually try to collude with community members or even strong arm the community members and pretend to be representing the community members when they go and make their demands?
Yes, certainly. They do that in most cases. And they will even mobilize community to say there's a project that's coming, we must all benefit. And of course, unsuspecting community members will come in large numbers in most cases. But when the deals are struck, community members are not necessarily brought on board. So they do use community members in certain instances.
MEC, it would be remiss of me not to ask you this. In closing, you visited Diepkloof Hostel with Mayor Kabelo Komanda a few weeks ago. Now, residents there indicated that they desperately need family units. The hostel setup no longer works for them because most of them now have families. And you committed to address this issue. Are there any time frames for demolishing part of the hostel or time frames to identify land to build additional units?
We said that there are certain sections of the hostels that are not habitable, and we've already instructed our teams to immediately demolish those. And I can come back to you with specifics. I might not have them now, but we have said immediately we should act. But then we are supposed to identify which we have land adjacent to the hostel, which is supposed to be used for development. In fact, there's a process that has been started through the city of Joburg's entity called Joburg Property Company. I think they are appointing a developer there which will develop different typologies. So work is happening, and if you would want us to come back to give details, we will definitely do that. Whatever we said must happen, will happen, and we remain committed to doing it.
All right. MEC, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's MEC Lebogang Maile speaking to us.